Welcome to our Introduction to Economics lecture. So this is item number 1 in your notebooks, and we'll call it, What is Economics? So here's the definition of economics. It is the study of how people use limited resources to meet unlimited wants and needs. This is almost exactly like the definition that I gave you on Monday, just a little shortened. So write it down, make it official. The study of how people use limited resources to meet unlimited wants and needs. So there's a couple things you should definitely underline in this paragraph or in this definition. First, we have limited resources. So underline that. That is a super important concept to know, and it will be a constant theme throughout the semester. We have limited resources. And then also, just as important, is unlimited wants and needs. We're always going to want more stuff. So underline unlimited wants and needs. That's super important as well. If we didn't have unlimited wants and needs, limited resources wouldn't be important. But because we have unlimited wants and needs, our limited resources are very, very important and are scarce. So why is it important to understand economics, do you think? Go ahead, write the answer to that question down now. Now, boys and girls, there are a bunch of different ways to describe economics, and here's a bunch of them. Feel free to write them down or don't write them down, your choice. None of these specifically will ever be on any test, but this is just different ways to think about economics. So first, economics is the study of the choices that people make to satisfy their wants and needs, the study of man in relationship to his material needs, the study of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, or, one of my favorites, the common sense science of how and why people, businesses, and governments make the choices that they do. So, boys and girls, you guys are in a class called economics. It's a big, broad topic that covers all sorts of things. And when you get into college, it will actually be broken down into 2 smaller classes called microeconomics and macroeconomics. Micro means small. So if you say anything's micro, you're saying it's small. Such as micro machines. They're this fun little toy that we had when I was a little kid. They're like Hot Wheels except 1/10 the size. One of my students has been bringing micro hands to class. They're these tiny little hands that you put on your fingers. They're very disturbing. Micro hands would be little hands. Microeconomics, choices of individuals or a specific household or a specific business. So you're really narrowing down your scope. Macroeconomics is the second class you will take in college economics. And you're talking about large-scale economies. So you're talking about the economies of whole countries or of an entire industry, those kinds of things. It's really the study of economics as a whole. And we'll get into all sorts of fun stuff with macroeconomics, such as graphs, literally my favorite thing in the world. So, a couple things to think about. In economics, what are the 2 main types of decision makers? If you said producers and consumers, you are absolutely right. Now I want you to think about it. Just go ahead and jot down a couple ideas here. In what ways do you serve as a consumer? Think about it. What is a consumer? And how are you a consumer? In what ways are you a producer? You certainly produce things, whether it be headaches for your parents or homework or other things. In what ways are you a producer? And really, at the end of this lecture, the thing that I really want you to understand is what kinds of decisions do consumers and producers have to make? So let's dive in. Now, boys and girls, when it comes to economics, when it comes to being a producer, there's a couple different kinds of products that you can produce. There are goods and there are services. Goods are products that you can see or touch. Or there are services. These are work performed for pay that benefit others. For example, me sitting here teaching you economics is a service. Now, whenever you make a decision, there's an opportunity cost. And that opportunity cost is the amount of goods or services that must be given up in order to obtain other goods and services. For example, right now I'm here recording this video for you to watch at your own leisure, when right now I could be hanging out with my children and going to the park and throwing a baseball around. I give up that to do this for you. Other things, I bought a car this summer. I did not buy a pool or a house or a dog. I gave up those things so that I could buy a car. So opportunity cost is what you give up to obtain other goods and services. Now, goods and services are produced using these things we call factors of production. And there are 4 categories. You have capital goods, human goods, entrepreneurship, and natural resources. So they make this lovely little mnemonic device that we like to call CHEN. Hopefully it's something that you never, ever, ever forget, and it sticks with you, I don't know, all through college and through your entire life. And at some point when you're like 90, you look back and you're like, dang it, CHEN. And it just pops into your head just like that. I hope it does. So once again, the 4 factors of production. We have capital goods. These are goods that have been produced that are used to produce other goods, such as factories or machines, those kinds of things. Then you have human resources. That's people who make things. Then you have entrepreneurship. This is kind of a different idea. This is creating products that are new, coming up with new ideas, new ways of doing things. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're someone who creates goods and services in a new way that society hopefully wants. And then finally we have our natural resources. These are the things that we're here just because we're on Earth. So trees, air, water, sand, all of those things are natural resources. Gold, anything that's naturally on Earth is a natural resource and can be used to produce other things. So producers and consumers have a relationship with each other. And here it is in a chart. Are you ready for this? This is absolutely amazing. So we have producers who buy the factors of production to produce products to sell to consumers. Consumers use money to buy those goods. The money that was used to buy those goods go back to the producers. Wait a second, that was so amazing. Let's do that again. So producers buy the factors of production to produce products to sell to consumers. That money goes back to the producers. That money is then used by the producers to buy the factors of production, to make the products, to sell to consumers, who give their money to the producers. That money is used to buy the factors of production, to make the products, to sell to the consumers, whose money go to the producers, to buy the factors of production, to make the products, to sell to consumers. The producers then use that money to buy the factors of production, to make the products, to sell to the consumers. When the producers get that money, they buy the factors of production to create products, to sell to consumers? I hope you have it at this point. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you're hoping to create things so that you can get rich. You want to find new ways to combine the factors of production to satisfy consumers. That's your goal. You want to make consumers happy by creating something new so you can get rich. Some of the most prolific entrepreneurs of our time, people like Steve Jobs of Apple, or that Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, perhaps you've heard of him, or Jeff Bezos of Amazon. There's all sorts of entrepreneurs that you've heard of who have created new ways of combining the same old factors of production to make us happy. And without these people, life wouldn't be like it is now. Could you imagine life without iPhones or Amazon or Microsoft? Absolutely not. However, since we do have unlimited wants and needs and we have very limited resources, we have scarcity in our world. And scarcity forces us to decide how to use our resources effectively. We have to be very careful in choosing what we produce. So scarcity exists because our societies are virtually unlimited, or our society's wants and needs are virtually unlimited, and exceed the ability of the economy to meet these wants. Basically, we don't have enough resources to make sure you have everything you've ever wanted. We don't have those kinds of resources. So, how do we allocate those scarce resources? Well, it's actually fairly simple, and that is through what is known as the 3 basic economic questions that every producer has to ask themselves. This is incredibly important and one of the foundational principles of economics, and you must know it and never forget it. This seriously is the reason why economics exists. The 3 basic economic questions, and every producer has to ask themselves these 3 questions. Once again, they're incredibly important. The first question is, if I'm a producer, what am I going to produce? Second question, how am I going to produce it? And then third, for whom am I going to produce? So those are the 3 basic economic questions. So how do producers determine what they are going to produce? Well, they take a look at their skills, they take a look at what factors of production are available to them, and go from there. Now, one of the tools that they use to help determine what to produce is a thing called a production possibilities curve. A production possibilities curve is a graph. Here it is right here in all of its glory. And all it shows is every possible combination of 2 products that one company can produce. Once again, a production possibilities curve shows every possible combination of 2 products that one company can produce. So here you clearly see an example for cars, a car company such as Ford or Chevrolet, Toyota, maybe Honda if you prefer them, whatever. But here you can see they can produce either economy cars or luxury cars. Now, if they choose to make 5 million luxury cars, you'll see that they'll use all of their resources on luxury cars and not be able to make any economy cars. Or they could choose to make 7 million economy cars and make no luxury cars. Now, we both know that that's insane and no company would ever produce all of one thing and nothing of another. Most companies like to diversify, have lots of different products that lots of people can use. So, it's completely understandable that a company might choose to make 3 million luxury cars. If this company made 3 million luxury cars, how many economy cars could they make? Well, here's how you read this graph, just like any math graph, not too difficult. So you see here you have 3 million luxury cars. You follow it up to the line where it intersects the line. You follow it over to the economy cars, and it looks like they can make about 4.5 million economy cars if they choose to make 3 million luxury cars. So those are the kinds of things that production possibilities curves use, and companies can use this projection as a way to figure out where they're going to be most profitable, meaning the point they're going to make the most profit selling their goods. However, when creating a production possibilities curve, there are two assumptions that are made. First, that the amount of available resources and technology will not change during the time being studied. Because if those things changed during the time that we're studying, you would have a different production possibilities curve. So if this company wants to know what they can produce next week, there can't be a technological change in the middle of next week. Second is that all resources being used are utilized as efficiently as possible. So all machines are working, all of our labor is coming in, there aren't any shortages on any of our resources. Everything has to be there, good, and ready to go. So everything has to be as efficient as possible. Those are the two assumptions, and if either of those assumptions are false, the production possibilities curve is not true. Once again, here's that beautiful production possibilities curve. Now, like I said, they can change, they can be different. It is possible for a short period of time to produce outside your production possibilities, to produce way out here. Maybe you got a lot of extra resources this week, or maybe you got a new machine, or a machine was repaired, or you hired 50 new people. You could produce outside your production possibilities curve. However, it's not sustainable and it's not going to last for very long. It is also possible to produce within your production possibilities curve and is more likely. This right here is showing some type of inefficiency in your system. You could be producing out here, but you're producing in here. Now, while this is not great news, if it's close enough to your production possibilities curve, it's not terrible news either. But if your production possibilities curve is way out here and you're producing way down here or even right here, that would be fairly catastrophic. Now, reasons that this production possibilities curve may differ from the current production possibilities is a change in technology or a change in the factors of production, the things we talked about just a couple minutes ago. Now, if you have an increase in technology or increase or improve or use more efficiently the factors of production, you could increase your production possibilities curve. And that graph would look like this. So you see P1 is the original line. P2 is the new line. You can see at every point you make more products. So that is an increase in production possibilities. However, sometimes bad things happen to technology, or sometimes factors of production aren't being used as efficiently as possible. When that happens, you could have a decrease in your production possibilities. So there it is, your very first economics lecture.